Hello and welcome to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast for Disney Cruise Line history, trip reports, and general travel planning. Well, on into episode 18. I'm excited to bring this show out to you here as we start to face the dog days of summer. It features Kim Slusher from the Distracted Life podcast. It's always fun to talk to another podcaster and someone who's been a true inspiration for me getting into the whole podcast genre to begin with. And she was nice enough to come on and talk about her family's first Disney Cruise Line trip on the Disney Fantasy out to the Caribbean, 7-day Eastern Caribbean sailings. And they had a couple different adventures, which most of us hopefully don't have to face as they left the dock there in Port Canaveral. But I'm going to let her talk about it, and we'll jump right into the show. I hope you enjoy it tonight, and I want to thank you always for coming back and taking a listen. So on to the Disney Fantasy with the Slusher family out of Port Canaveral. Enjoy, everyone. And now I'd like to welcome to the DCL podcast, Kim Slusher, and I'm really excited to talk to you today, Kim. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, and if I haven't really told this story, but I'm going to just give a quick snippet. But the whole reason why I got into podcasting was listening to Kim and her podcast, which she does, the Distracted Life podcast. And yeah, you truly were my inspiration to jump in. And she did a show on, I think you talked about how many bloggers there are out there versus podcasters. It was kind of cool because you kind of threw that challenge out there. If you have something to say, I challenge you to do it. And so I'm not sure if I'm doing it very well, but giving it a shot, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Well, I'm just over here completely grinning and red-faced and embarrassed. But yeah, no, I think the stat is for every 2,500 blogs, there's one podcast. So if you got something to say, and I'm much more of a talker anyway, get out there and say it in a podcast.
Definitely.
People can take a podcast with them, while they're driving in the car and stuff. You can't really read a blog and drive a car.
If you've never listened to Kim's podcast, the Distracted Life podcast, I really encourage you to go over there and give it a shot, because it's just an amazing show. And we can talk a little bit more at the end, I guess, on how to find it. But today, I'm pretty excited because you went on your first Disney cruise, didn't you? You and your family.
Yes, so it was our first Disney Cruise Line vacation as a family. My husband had snuck off on a 3-night previously, but for our family, which is me, my husband, and my 2 boys, Evan and Joel, they're 9 and 10, it was our first family cruise, so it was pretty exciting.
And this was in June, right?
Actually, it was in the middle of May. May 20th was our cruise.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, let's talk about your cruise. But before you got onto the cruise itself, you spent some time in Disney World. And did you guys use Magical Express to get over to, I believe you stayed at the Boardwalk?
Yeah, exactly. We used Magical Express. We did our pre-night at Boardwalk because we knew we wanted to go to Epcot. And as a way to save money, we thought we'll use Disney's free transportation, Disney's Magical Express, and it worked out great. We had a super early flight, so we were on Magical Express, I think, by 10:30, and then I think it took probably 45 minutes to an hour to get over to the Boardwalk. But one of the funny kind of / gross things that happened
oh no
on Magical Express is my son yells over, "Hey mom, look at this." And I look over because I was sitting across the aisle from him, and he's beating on the seat. There was so much dust and grime that he was beating on it, and dust was flying up in the air so much that it was making a cloud.
Oh no.
And there was a pile of dust that he could write a letter in it. And I'm just like, you can stop that now. He's like, why is it doing this? I said, because it's not been cleaned in a long time. So
wow. Was it so when we were there in March, we actually were on a Mears bus. And I don't know if they were so busy that they contracted out, but was it an actual Disney bus, or was it a Mears bus?
It was an actual Disney bus. We were on actual Disney buses the whole vacation. We used 4 different buses. So we did the bus from the airport to the Boardwalk, Boardwalk to the cruise to the Boardwalk, and then, Grand Floridian at the end, and then Grand Floridian to the airport. So yeah, they were all Disney buses, and that one was the grossest.
Wow.
The rest of them, of course, because he had to try it on all buses afterwards. And that was the worst one.
Oh no. Well, hopefully you get that bus cleaned, I guess.
Yeah, he's like, why is it doing this? I'm like, because they haven't ran a vacuum in here in a year.
Oh man, that's disgusting.
Yeah, but oh well, it entertained him. Wasn't concerned about the long bus ride because he was entertained by that. He kept trying to sneak because I told him to quit. So of course, as each 10-year-old does, pushing boundaries, he kept trying to do it.
I'm sitting there thinking about it. Maybe it was pixie dust that he was knocking up there.
You know what? I never thought about that. That's exactly what that was.
It wasn't dust. It was pixie dust from Tinkerbell that was left over from the last group of people that went there, and getting them set on their magical way.
Yeah, I should have just let him keep doing it. Bad parenting all around with me.
Well, cool. I've never stayed at Boardwalk. How did you like Boardwalk?
It was perfect for what we wanted. We knew that we wanted to go to Epcot, and, walking distance, literally 5 minutes. I don't even know if it was that. We actually stayed in the hotel because the Boardwalk has DVC, Disney Vacation Club, and the hotel. So we were on the hotel side of it, which was closer to Epcot. And we just loved it. The room, I'll send you a picture. The room felt huge. We've stayed at the Wilderness Lodge recently, and it was way bigger than the Wilderness Lodge's room. I don't know. I just really enjoyed not only the room size, but the way they have it decorated. I like that there's, we did get ice cream there on the boardwalk at the Ample Hills ice cream place. We got dinner and snacks and the entertainment in the evenings. One of the highlights of this whole vacation was his name was Coney Island Chris, and he was in the evening over at the boardwalk just doing juggling and kind of like comedy act. He was wonderful, and we just adored him. I really should send Disney an email regarding him because he just was hilarious, and we watched 2 of his shows. We liked him so much.
Those are kind of the neat experiences that you find that, there's all, the rides and everything else that people tend to look for, but sometimes it's the little hidden things like that you're not expecting, and they really make your vacation even that much more special. Yeah,
and one of the things I forgot to completely mention when we were over at Epcot, ran into your co-host, Miss Christy Pudig. So I got to say hi to her in person. That was wonderful.
That's amazing. So I'm glad you guys had a chance to hook up and talk. We just met up, I guess, a month before that. And yeah, she's a fun person to hang out with, isn't she?
Yeah, she is so nice. She has been one of the highlights of starting a podcast and getting out here in the Disney community was making friends like her. She is such a supportive, knowledgeable, just fun person. So it was just really awesome to get to say hi to her in person.
Well, what a special way to start the trip then. Staying at the boardwalk, running into Christy, and then also having a Coney Island Chris kind of entertain you guys as well. Well, awesome. Well, let's. How did you guys, after your night at Epcot and the boardwalk, how did you guys get to Port Canaveral?
Well, we had some fun. So our sailing was the first 7 nights on the Fantasy after it did its spring dry dock. So it was I can't remember how many weeks the dry dock was, but it came out of dry dock in early May. Had I think it was either a 2 or 3 night sailing, but then we were the first full 7 night sailing after dry dock. They had the cruise before us had some issues. So there was some mechanical failures, and they also then had a medical evac the night that it was coming into port. So that delayed that cruise's debarkation by several hours. So we woke up Saturday morning with this whole hearing the news that stuff was going on, but not hearing anything officially. We got an email from Disney around 9 a.m. saying, you don't need to show up at the port until 3 hours later. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what does that mean? Because when we had checked into the boardwalk, we checked into the boardwalk and we told them, we're using Disney Cruise Line transfers to get to the cruise tomorrow. And they're like, oh yeah, they'll give you a piece of paper that'll explain what you need to do. So what they had explained to us when we got to our room was that the letter had said, you need to go to the Bellevue Lounge at 11 a.m. Well, with this delayed debarkation, we really didn't know what we were supposed to do with Disney Cruise Line transfer. So what ended up happening is we got the email around 9 a.m. I think about 30 minutes later, we got a phone call from Diana, I believe, from Disney Cruise Line saying, just so you know, the ship is having some issues. You don't need to meet me in the Bellevue Lounge until 1 p.m. So what Disney Cruise Line would like for you to do is to go have lunch. You'll have a $25 per person on board credit to your stateroom. Then meet me at 1, and then we'll get on the bus to go to the terminal. So she had already arranged to. She's like, I've already taken care of. You have a late checkout. So, typically checkout time's 11 a.m., but you can feel free to stay into your room until 1 p.m. if you'd like, when you need to come meet me at the Bellevue Lounge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this was just like awesome. They took care of everything because we were using Disney transfers. For us, this was a complete non-issue and was handled wonderfully. We met her, got on the bus, and off to the terminal we went.
Wow, it's like your own personal concierge. That's amazing that they did it. Do you know, like, when you use Disney Transportation, do they have somebody that goes with you each time like that, I guess, like Diane?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, this was our first time doing it, so I really don't know.
Okay.
And I don't even know, like, at different resorts, like, we stayed at a deluxe resort, that, with the boardwalk having a lounge.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking the whole time, like, where do people at Pop meet? I was like, this is information I need to know now as a Disney nerd.
Right.
Like, where do the people at, all these other resorts, where's their meetup spot to get all of this? And I'm assuming that they would have a person designated to them as well that would help them,
right,
through all of this. For us, though, it just solidified it. That's a good word. It solidified for me that we'll probably always use Disney Cruise Line transfers and go in a day before.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's always nice to go in a day before. You just never want to miss your ship. But for us, it was such a non-event using Disney Cruise Line. They took care of everything for us. You're always a part of Facebook groups, or not always. We were a part of a Facebook group, so we saw the mass flurry of all of this taking place in our Facebook group. People had extra charges because they had to reschedule last minute their private transfers. Other people were like saying their transfer person couldn't really help them. They were almost now on their own, and they had to find different things. It really just seemed like a lot of chaos was going on for other people. But for me and my family, it actually worked out great. We had a couple extra hours. We headed over to Disney Springs and had lunch at Wolfgang Puck Express. And so for us, it actually ended up being a nice little perk. I mean, obviously, we would have liked to have been on the ship a little bit earlier, but it was smooth sailing for me.
I like the little pun there. Yeah, I mean, totally relaxing. And I guess now that I think about it, when we used Disney Transportation when we were in London, and we went down to Dover, and there was somebody on each one of the buses there. So I guess I was assuming it was like Magical Express where you just got on and it took you, but maybe they do have somebody like that. So that was awesome having somebody like Diane to really make it easy for you. And I guess we need to kind of go back because I didn't even bring this up yet, but what cruise did you guys book? It was a 7-night Eastern Caribbean on the Fantasy, and where was it going to go, I guess?
Well, okay, so our original itinerary was Tortola, 2 days at sea, Tortola, then St. Thomas, day at sea, then Castaway Cay. Because of all this, once we were walking on the ship, we were walking onto the ship to board, they handed us all a sheet of paper saying, we've changed your itinerary. Because the ship was still having mechanical issues. They hadn't had it fixed. So when we got on, they said, the tentative plan for right now is that you'll go to St. Thomas first. 2 days at sea, then St. Thomas first. Then we're going to go to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Then we'll have our day at sea, and then Castaway Cay. At that point in time, it was still tentative, and that they would give us more information later. When we did our muster drill, they came on, and the captain told us that yes, it is confirmed. We are going to go to St. Thomas first, that all of the shore excursions that have previously been booked since we were changing days, those had all been rescheduled automatically for us. All the ones that were scheduled for Tortola, because we were no longer going there, had automatically been canceled. But we could start booking our San Juan shore excursions or port adventures the following day, that they were still finalizing those contracts and getting that information together. So that was nice that they did the best that they could in communicating to us throughout the cruise, and that first day especially.
All of this stuff is really good to hear because it seems like, that's part of travel. You don't want it to happen to you, obviously, when your plane's late or the bus is late or whatever else, but with the ship being late, it sounds like they really bent over backwards to try and make it as easy on everybody and do the best that they can to kind of reaccommodate everybody's vacation and kind of try and still make it as special as they can by by taking care of all that stuff for you guys?
I'm not going to lie, the first day was pretty hectic. So once we got to the terminal, it was, oh my goodness. The interesting thing is they had told us in the email that everyone was going to be delayed 3 hours for embarkation. However, they only delayed us getting on the bus by 2 hours. When we got to the terminal, I mean, there were tons of Disney Cruise buses dropping off people. So we did have the longest wait was to get through the security screening. Once we got through the security screening, it was 10 minutes maybe to get checked in there for our cabin. Then like 5 minutes to get the boys signed up for the kids club. And then another 5 minutes later, we were on the ship. The rooms were already ready. I was astonished because, they had a delayed debarkation. And I'm just amazed that they had everything turned around like they did. And it was crazy when we got on because we didn't know what time really anything was. So they had announced muster drill, and we knew when that was, or they didn't change that time. And we were really relying on the Disney Cruise Line app, but internet wasn't working. So even having that, because they were still having some issues, so the internet really wasn't working on the app. So there was a little bit of confusion. We got it all figured out, but the first day was interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of. Especially like if you had the early seating too for dinner. Is that going to happen at 5 or 6 whenever it happens to be on? Just trying to get all that information.
Yeah, no, they had delayed that. They had moved all that stuff back a half hour. They were telling us a lot of this at the muster drill.
Okay.
So I've got to tell so I'm going to do little funny tangents here.
Sure.
So at the muster drill, my youngest son, Joel, he kept saying they tricked us. And, we're trying to listen to what they're saying and telling us. And so after the muster drill, we went up to our room just to, relax. I was going to say chill, relax for a little bit. And he kept saying it. They tricked us. And I'm like, well, we'll go see a show tonight. And he's like, no, they tricked us. And I'm like, I have no clue what this kid is talking about. We finally realized because our muster station was in the Walt Disney Theater. They tricked us to go there and then didn't show us a show. And it was just like cracking us up. So that's probably only funny to me because it's my kid. Yeah. But, it was just kind of funny. When we went back that evening, we said, Joel, we promise there'll be a show.
I love it. Well, cool. Well, let's talk about your time on the ship then. I guess the first 2 days were at sea. Kind of crazy that first day.
Yep.
So I guess that probably kind of threw you all off for a loop. What did you guys do for those days at sea? What did you think about? I guess we could just start with the ship itself. What did you guys think of the ship?
The ship is beautiful, and it's one of those things. I'm an avid YouTuber and picture, and I go out on the internet seeking this stuff. But until you see this in person, it really just does not do the ship any justice at all. So that part of it was pretty amazing. We toured the kids clubs. They were huge. They tell you how big these kids clubs are. We did the open house the first day, and it was just huge and amazing. And our boys did go. I think it was on like the second day. Evan did the super sloppy science. Oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, what did you think, Evan? It was funny. I said, well, what was funny about it? It's just funny. So he had a good time, but it was just like, that's all the description I got out of my 10-year-old. So it was funny.
Word has it gets even worse. That's about all you're going to get out of him for another.
Oh, no, don't tell me these things.
Well, talking to my friends that have older kids, I guess. But, so the kids clubs are amazing. They're huge, aren't they?
Yeah, it was crazy. And my boys go to daycare, so they didn't mind being in there, but they also weren't the kids that were like, no, let me stay. My boys just like to spend family time, so they were okay when they were there, but they also liked being with mom and dad. So just be prepared for that. Not every kid is the don't drag me out of the kids club kind of kid.
Right. I think our kids are kind of the same way, where there's certain things that they like to go and do, and so they'll go and do it, but as they've gotten older, they really like hanging out with us too, so we've gotten to do more of the shows that they have after dinner, like the Family Feud shows, or How Well Do You Know Your Family? And once you start doing those, you realize, wow, there's a lot of cool, fun entertainment on board that's pretty neat to go and see too. So
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we didn't have a bingo addict. Our boys really liked playing bingo.
Yes.
So they had a blast when they did it, but I kept saying, you want to go play bingo again? And it was like, surprisingly, they said no. And I'm like, well, okay, it saves me money. But they really had a ball playing bingo.
You're right in that. Is like some people's kids, they'll want to be in there all the time. And then it just depends upon your family, I guess, doesn't it?
Yep.
Well, let's talk about the food a little bit. You guys got on board. Did you go to Cabanas? Was Cabanas open when you guys got on board?
You know what? Here's the funny thing. Okay. Sorry. This is what you get for having a podcaster on your podcast.
No,
they don't shut up.
Yeah, I love it.
So with the drama of everything as we got on, my son was in the hunt for, and I'm going to say it wrong, French macaroons. One of the reasons why we went to Epcot was because there's the French Pavilion. And at the French Pavilion, they have French macaroons because my son is obsessed with them. So when we got on board, we went to go get lunch, and, times are all weird and wonky. So we were walking in, and we happened to walk into Cabanas. And I'm horrible with sides of the ship, but so we walked into Cabanas, but where we walked in also had an entrance to the Sweet on You, the new ice cream parlor,
right?
Candies, cookies, everything. And Evan saw cookies. He's like, I need to go see if there's French macaroons. So we diverted from Cabanas into the Sweet on You. They did have them, but we didn't want to, obviously I'm not going to let my kid eat cookies before lunch or, snack.
As lunch.
Yeah, exactly. So we's like, well, we'll come back here in a minute. Literally, by the time we walked back, they would not let us back into Cabanas. They had closed Cabanas for the muster drill. So that's a tip. Do close the food location. We were so close, and my husband's like, we got missed out of Cabanas by the cookie. So we ended up going over to Flo's. Flo's hadn't shut down yet, so that was on the back end. I think we all just had burgers and fries and everything. But, but back to the talking of the first couple of days, we pretty much ate breakfast and lunch at Cabanas both days, and we liked it. The food is good. I'm not a big foodie. Ryan loved all of the food. There's like seafood, some stuff on there that he typically likes. My youngest son is a carnivore. So here's a little showing what a great parent I am. Joel pretty much had steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Every single meal. He loves steak, and we pretty much let him have steak. Yeah, so Joel had a good time eating, and everything was pretty good. So
I think my youngest Alex would be, he would hang with Joel in a heartbeat because he is totally the carnivore too, no matter where we go. I think we just had pizza tonight, and he had like sausage and pepperoni and bacon and meat on it. So yeah, he'd be hanging with Joel. So you guys, what about the actual dining rooms themselves? What did you think of them?
Our first night was at the Royal Court.
Okay.
We had a family we specifically requested a table for the four of us. The reason we had done that is both of my sons have some unique challenges. They both have ADHD. One is got a language disorder. And so we just felt like we didn't want to share a table with somebody else. So we did request a table of four, and then we did get that. However, so our first night was at Royal Court, and we show up at this table for four that is literally 2 inches next to another table of four.
Oh, wow.
So we couldn't tell. It's like, because we didn't want to be rude to the table next to us.
Right.
So we were trying to figure out, it's like, are we one big table? Should we introduce ourselves, or what should we be doing here? And so we ultimately, I guess, played snob and didn't say hi. But yeah, so we were at a table for four, and it became, more apparent when we went to the other dining rooms. But just the setup at the Royal Court, it was kind of confusing me a little bit. It's like, we're kind of right next to each other. But the food was great. The service was amazing. For me, I get a little uncomfortable with, I have 2 servers.
Right.
And it took me forever. I didn't even know who my main server was and who my other server was. And Ryan's like, oh, no, he's our main server. And I'm like, okay, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just ask both of them for things I need. But they took so good care of the boys and entertained them and did jokes and stuff. But yeah, so our first night was Royal Court. Then we had Animator's Palette. And then we had the Enchanted Garden.
Okay.
Was our rotation.
What did you think of Animator's Palette?
It was nice and so not what you think. Even though, like I said, I look at pictures and stuff. the setup and the layout just wasn't exactly how I expected. I mean, there are literally like screens everywhere. So like for the first time we went, Crush was there to say hi to all the kids and to talk. In the place we were sitting, he tried to do a wave, initiated a wave through the dining room. And it was just a ton of fun, and the boys really liked it. The second night we ate at Animator's Palette, it was the they call it Animation Magic. So this is a spoiler alert if you don't want to hear it, but I think the spoiler is out there enough that people know it. But you get to draw a little character at the beginning of your meal. Then they scan all these characters in, and then you get to see what you drew come to life and dance across the screen at the end of the meal. This is a night where my older son was particularly in a foul mood. I don't know exactly what was going on. He was kind of sad. He had lost his blankets, and I'll tell that story here in a second. And they still hadn't found his blankets. But when that Animation Magic show started, he completely turned around and was just all about it. Even though he was grumpy and didn't even have a character in the show, he still loved watching it and thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how they do that, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, he didn't even care that he didn't have a character in there. He was curious because he knew me and Ryan. So which one's yours, Mommy? And which one's yours, Daddy? And was wanting to find those. And then the Enchanted Garden. The interesting thing with the Enchanted Garden is, one, it's beautiful. I actually think out of all three of the dining rooms, I actually thought it was the prettiest and liked it the best. I don't know if the greens of it just kind of soothed me or something. I just liked it a lot. But we had, when you first walk in, there are these big, like, round circle type seats that the families can. So it's like bench type seating instead of just a table, but they're circular.
Okay.
And that's where our family was. So it was kind of weird. I felt like I was on the processional here. We were
everybody's going by you. Yeah.
Saying hi to everybody coming and going. And so I kind of, so that was just interesting having that seat and being up there in front. I felt kind of almost like on display or something with my meal, but it was nice because that was really easy for the servers to take care of all of us and everything. Oh, and there's one other thing I want to say about the main dining room food. Do you know, and you probably do because you've cruised Disney Cruise Line before, this was my first one, like, Joel ate steak every night. The main server cut Joel's steak every night for him. We didn't have to do it as parents. Do you know how nice that was? That I didn't have to like grab my kid's plate and cut up the steak for him and everything. The server did all that for me. So I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that is an awesome thing that they do. I mean, they when you get a good serving team, and it sounds like you guys had them, and they're all pretty phenomenal serving teams. But yeah, just the little things like that really kind of make your whole cruise, and having the drinks there every night when you come to the table, knowing like what the kids want to drink. I mean, that just makes it so much easier for you as a parent, I think, to kind of relax and have a good time because they've got what they want already. So did I see some? Oh, go ahead if you wanted to.
No, you go ahead.
Did I see that you guys ate at Cabanas a couple of times at night too, or was that just during the day?
Yes. No, we did. So I actually got this tip from you.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. And we had the one night there, and it was amazing.
We ate there 2 nights.
Okay.
Just the timing. We booked our cruise late. We booked it only at 6 weeks out, so we didn't really get a lot of choice with some of our options. Obviously, we could have went and spoke to somebody, but we were just trying to go with the flow and not make a big deal of it. So we had the later seating. Well, my kids eating at 8:15. Just, it wasn't the best.
Right.
So we went to Cabanas, like I said, 2 different nights. And actually, it was 2 different nights in a row. So as much as I was just raving about the main dining.
No, that's okay.
I think I like eating at Cabanas better. It was way simpler. I didn't feel as chaotic. There wasn't so many people like wandering around and the waiters. I mean, I still had 2 servers, if I remember correctly, at Cabanas, but it just didn't feel as, I don't know, frantic. I think they're trying to churn so many people in the main dining that I just still felt like this rushness about it, whereas Cabana just kind of felt chill and relaxed and wasn't so noisy. The main dining rooms, in my opinion, can get a little bit noisy with everybody in there talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's the same food, but it's very similar-ish in style and quality. So I really think our next Disney cruise we'll be eating probably more at Cabanas in the evening.
Yeah, and that's a great tip if you have, because if you do get stuck with the 8:15 and that's just tough on your kids, like it would. We've been lucky that we've had the earlier one, but I'm not even going to go down that angle, but Cabanas was just amazing, and like you said, it's a big production for them to turn that many people over in those big dining rooms and to get the food out and get everybody served and then moved everybody out and cleaned for the next group to come in. Whereas you can go to Cabanas, and I think the food is just as good. And for us, our server, he came over and talked to us probably 15, 20 minutes because there was only a few people in there the night that we were in there. And so it was kind of even more personable too. It was a little bit more, it was definitely more quiet. I thought the food was just as good. And I mean, I'm going to go out and say this too. Like sometimes the kids' food, it seems like at least on and I've heard some different back and forth on the dining rooms and the different ships. So I really don't have enough knowledge as to whether one's better or not. But it does seem like the kids' food, they prepare it early. So sometimes it's come out and it's been a little bit on the cool side for my kids. Whereas my oldest son loves mac and cheese, and that night we were in Cabanas, it was like, boy, it felt like it just came fresh out of the oven or the pot or whatever else. And so it's definitely something that if it fits what you want to do on the cruise, it's definitely I would definitely highly recommend going to it.
It was pretty awesome. And to reverse that, we did eat, and I can't remember what day of the sailing we did it. We ate breakfast one morning at the main dining at Royal Court is where we ate. And then we had lunch once at Royal Court.
Oh, I've never done that.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of it. I think for me personally, and I bounced all this off my husband before we went to record tonight, I'm just not a fancy food eater or even a fancy environment for when I'm eating my food. So the main dining rooms, while I can appreciate them, I'm just as happy over at a buffet. And actually, to be honest, our lunch service at Royal Court, our servers were not really that good. They gave off an air of, why are you here eating lunch? I'd rather be doing something else.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, but that was the only bad service we had the whole time. And it was just, I think that guy, he could have been having a bad day. We all have bad days.
Right.
But, yeah, definitely I was a big fan of Cabanas. So.
Yeah, no, we were too, in all honesty. And we didn't do it on the last cruise, but I think on the next cruise we'll probably go there one evening because we really enjoyed it as well. Well, what kind of cabin did you guys stay in? Yeah,
we're kind of we're taking the non-traditional route here,
aren't we? All over the place, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Sorry about that. That's we booked. I'm sorry. We booked. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Kim. I'll get this straight. I'll get this straightened out and edited better.
It's okay if you don't. People are used to it with me. So we booked a standard deluxe ocean view veranda. We booked last minute because there was a cheaper price. We originally had a different cruise booked. And when we talk about the Disney Vacation account, I had actually set aside money for a different cruise. But when this cruise became available to us at a discount, we jumped right on it. It saved us about $1,300 to switch from an October cruise to this May cruise.
Nice.
So time of year really plays a big part with Disney cruise. So we really didn't have much say in the room that we picked. We just did a guarantee status. It gave us room 7044, which we loved. It was on near the elevators. So at first we were kind of like, oh, it's right next to the elevators. But we never heard traffic or elevator noise or anything. It was wonderful because it was right down from the laundry, and I'm one of these crazy people that actually do laundry on vacation. So for me, having that close was really nice. The room itself was kind of small. You know, I'm a Disney Vacation Club member that typically stays in one bedroom. So I'm used to this big sprawling, like big as my house hotel room. Uh-huh. And yeah, the room was adequate for our family of four. It was a perfectly adequate room, and surprisingly a ton of storage. I was actually surprised when we unpacked everything. It's like we could unpack so much more.
Yeah.
So it's crazy what they can do to help you store and be organized.
Yeah, it is amazing how much, like you said, storage there is in those rooms, because you walk into it, and you don't think that there's going to be enough, and yeah, everything fits pretty easily, doesn't it?
Yeah, it truly was amazing. And being able to slide your luggage under the bed is so helpful. And then they have those little ottomans. I don't know if it's just us or if every family does this, but the ottoman became, because you can open that up and it has storage on the inside, that became the shoe holder.
Oh, yeah.
So all the shoes went right in the ottoman. It was just wonderful.
That's a good tip. I never thought about that. Yeah. Well, cool. And you guys had a porthole, or did you have two portholes?
No, we actually did have a veranda.
Oh, the veranda.
So,
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay. It was a veranda, and with the two chairs and enough to sit there and, enjoy yourself. And the boys liked having it, and they just thought it was cool. So, yeah, definitely. I think we're veranda people.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, I love being able to open the door and just have that fresh breeze come in, and that salty air is just amazing while you're on the cruise. Well, what else can we talk about the ship? What did you guys think about the shows? Did you make it to very many of the shows?
We actually made it to all the main ones,
okay.
The Disney production ones. We did miss, they had, and I can't remember her name. They had the lady that was the first Belle on Broadway. Oh, I should have looked her name up. But she was a singer. We didn't think our boys would like going to just see a singer, so we didn't go to that. But pretty much every other evening show we went to. The Aladdin show was wonderful. As we were heading into it, I was like, is this going to be better or worse than the production that they had over at Disney's California Adventure? Because they had an Aladdin production that we had seen out there. I actually think the Disney California Adventure version was better, but this one was still amazing. And what I found amazing about this Aladdin show, because of course it's all about the genie, this genie apparently still has free reign to put in, pop culture type jokes and little references, because he snuck in a reference about us being delayed at port and making a joke about it. And it was like, this is just awesome. And all the parents are laughing and the kids are all clueless because they didn't get it, because they didn't realize what a big deal it was that we were delayed getting out of port.
Right.
And so it was just, I really did like the Aladdin production. They were all good, and my boys enjoyed, and I think that's the most important part. As Disney people, my boys were sitting there mesmerized, and what more can you want? We also saw they had a magician.
Okay.
And at the main theater, he was good. His ending act was very subtle sleight of hand work with a deck of cards. Another one where the adults were sitting there like, oh my goodness, how was he doing this? I think the kids were still like, I don't get it quite. Or at least my boys. I'll just speak for my boys. My boys were just like, yeah, okay, he's doing something cool with his hands, but I don't know, whatever. But he was really excellent. And then we also missed, they had a juggling act, and we didn't get to see him.
Okay.
So, but overall, yeah, definitely. Because that's one of the reasons you go on Disney Cruise Line is for these shows. And I definitely thought it was worth it.
Susan Egan. Was that her?
Yes, Susan Egan, yes.
There we go.
She was on our ship. And so
No, I didn't know it. I Googled it. So.
Oh, good. Thank you for Googling it.
Yeah, I talked to the podcast that's going to come up before this, our friends the Towlers that we met when we went to Norway. They just did the Baltic cruise, and he was saying that it sounds like they're trying to pair up famous singers that have performed for Disney on Broadway and bring them out to the ships, so maybe that's part of that. Because they had somebody from... I can't remember I think it was Newsies. I think that was on theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of the same thing. But they kind of felt the same way. Where like if you like that type of music, and he didn't necessarily sing Disney music in his show, he was singing stuff from other shows that he'd been in. So if you liked that kind of theatrical music, he seemed to think that would be amazing. But his kids didn't really enjoy it because they just didn't really know it, I guess. So
yeah, and that's what I was afraid with my boys. It's like they like the big production and flashes and stuff, and I thought I'm not going to risk it taking them. So,
yeah. Well, it's a night to do something different, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Did they do Disney Dreams on that one on the last night? Is that one that they do on the big ships too? Do you remember?
Yeah, there was one that was Dreams. There was Believe.
Okay.
And I can't remember the other one. There was 3 that were kind of like production type shows.
Okay.
Aladdin,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm horrible. I didn't take good notes, and I didn't have it down here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's like one of my favorite, just because they do all the it's kind of a mashup of all the Disney songs, and there's a story to it as well. But
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of a neat one. How about like the pools and the aqueduct? Did you guys get a chance to do that?
Yeah, the pools. This is one of these times where I feel like a bad parent again. I didn't realize that Donald Duck pool was so deep. It's a pretty deep pool. And so my boys are good swimmers now. I used to, they've taken swim classes. They're pretty good now. So I was just letting them run off and do their thing. And then when I actually got into the Donald Duck pool, I'm like, oh, this is deep. So just so you know, that is a deep pool. You might want to, if you've got kids that are a little shorter, you might want to watch them a little bit. They had a good time. The interesting thing, the aqueduct, my husband and my youngest son, Joel, rode it a bunch. They really enjoyed it. My older son doesn't like those kind of watery coaster kind of things. So I kind of thought he was going to hang out in the Aqua Lab a little bit more because he loves the splashes and the sprays and all of that. But I don't know. Our cruise, that area was never anybody in there. And I don't think he really wanted to play by himself. Well, I mean, I was in there.
Right.
But playing with your mom's not really that fun.
Nah.
So I don't know why that area was not ever really fully utilized, if it was its location on the ship or if it's always that way, but it's such a promising area. It was kind of disappointing that my son didn't really like it much more, but I think as I've been thinking about it, I just think he didn't like it because there wasn't really that many other kids in there with him. They've added, well, at least I'm taking my husband's word from this. One of the things they added in Dry Dock is on the side that's the same as Flo's and now the Sweet on You ice cream shop. They've added, I would call it more of like a waiting area. It's this little section of a pool that's right along the side, and it has see-through glass that you can see down over the edge of the ship.
Huh.
The water is only like ankle deep, maybe, and it has like 2 little fountains that spray out water. My boys like just being in there, just someplace to get a little wet and to cool off. It wasn't ever really that crowded. They could always just get in there and kind of play with the streams of water that were coming out. And I thought that was, if Ryan said it was new, so I thought it was a great addition. And if it's always been there, then my apologies. But they really enjoyed that little area of the main pool deck as well. So the pools, I think, were overall a pretty good success for our family. It's just on those at sea days, man, is it busy and crowded.
Yeah, I think we found that it's tough to stay up there the whole time, I guess, just because it is so busy and crowded. People kind of coming and going. So we kind of spent like a couple hours there, and then we watched a movie one day, and then one day I think the kids played in the kids club a little bit longer too. So it does get busy, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think talking about Christy earlier, she mentioned in I think it was an Instagram post lately that it's kids soup. That's exactly what it is. It's kids soup. There's kids everywhere.
Yeah, it's amazing, the hot tubs too. I mean, the hot tubs are just like packed with little kids in them too, or younger kids. And then you guys did the mid-detective.
Yeah, the Midship Detective Agency.
Yeah, how was that? Was that fun?
My boys loved it. We played, and we probably could have played it every day, all the time. They just loved and adored it. We did only 2 of them, but like I said, that's more the parents being, because we're still at that age where we didn't really want to give them free reign yet, so we still wanted to be near them as they were doing stuff. They would have probably done it all the time if we would have just let them, and they had tons of fun. My younger son, he loved just holding up the card and like doing the action that you can do on these windows. So I'm just making the assumption everyone knows what the Midship Detective Agency is, but it's a game that you can play throughout the fantasy where you have to solve a mystery. It's a detective and you write down clues. And to be honest with you, the only reason we beat one of them is because Joel saw the kid in front of him and got the answer. And because they were asking me to do something, and I'm like, that we needed to put in a number of something on this game. And I'm just like, I don't know what this is. And he knew what to do. And I'm just like, well, so he helped us solve it by cheating. Like, okay, well, Joel knows what to do, so we're just going with it.
No, it sounds like he was a pretty good detective. He was just like watching the facts around him, so.
Yeah, maybe he was, and I'm sitting here writing all this stuff down. That's the excuse. I was busy writing down.
Yeah,
and
he was observing.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it was, like I said, we just had a ball with that. The other thing, too, I want to talk about real quick on these first couple of days on the ship is fish extenders. So we got into a fish extender group. I don't think you've talked about this on your podcast before, because I do listen. I love your podcast. But the fish extenders are, they have the fish outside the rooms. You hang a little, for lack of a better term, bag off of it. And you can sign up for a group. And it's pretty much just a gift exchange that you do on the Disney Cruise Line. So these first couple of days, the Facebook group I was in, we were in a fish extender group that had about 10 families in it. So we exchanged gifts with all of those 10 families. But then they also had something called pixie dusting, which was just, people saying, hey, I'd be interested in either giving or getting some random gifts that you might have left over or something. So we did both pixie dusting and fish extender groups. And it's the same thing. You just drop a little gift off on the little fish extender. These first couple of days at Seas, everybody had the same idea as us. We got flooded with fish extender gifts. And it was super exciting that every time we came back to the room, there was a little gift waiting for my boys. They thought it was the best thing ever. Now, this is why I thought to tell this when we were talking about the midship detective agency.
Okay.
So we were playing the detective agency. We come by our room playing the game. We saw someone had dropped off us a fish extender gift. It's like, oh, yay. The boys, of course, wanted to grab it. And we're like, no. We're just going to go do these next couple of things. We'll be back in 10 minutes. We literally went off, did those couple of things, came back in 10 minutes. Someone stole our fish extender gift.
Oh, no, you're kidding.
Which we had plenty. And these are low. Some gifts are really, really nice. And some are, so I have no idea what got stolen, obviously.
Yeah.
But the boys were just like, who would do this, Mom? They just felt the ultimate betrayal that someone had stole their fish extender gift.
Wow.
So,
well, I'm sorry they had to go through that. Yeah.
So, like, why did they do it? I said, honey, you just have to go with the attitude that they obviously needed that gift more than you did. That's all you can do with this kind of stuff. So, but fish extenders, that's a wonderful thing. The boys, I think that was a highlight of the cruise for them.
Yeah, we've never done the fish extenders. I've seen them, and I didn't even. Yeah, I'd read about it before we went on our first cruise, but I didn't really understand what it was. And I guess to explain it in case somebody hasn't done it before, if they don't know what it is either. But each one of your rooms next to the door is a fish, and it's kind of like a little, almost like a holder. It's a metal fish that sticks out. And in Disney, we've gotten stuff from them. Sometimes they'll put, like, if they need to leave like a letter or something for you, they'll put it in the fish. And then what people do, like you said, Kim, is they hang up kind of a net, right? Or kind of a bag.
Yeah, a net, like a bag or something. Just like a little pocket holder kind of thing.
And so that's where the fish extender name kind of comes from, because it's extending from the fish up there. And I didn't understand what that was. I was like, what is this fish extender thing? So I finally kind of put two and two together. But we haven't done it yet. But we're going to have to do it next time. So how did you find your Facebook group, just out of curiosity?
It was just...
never done it before?
It was just a simple little search. I think I typed in Disney Fantasy May 20th, 2017. And typically there's only one group out there. I guess technically there could be more than one if more than one person sets up a group. But yeah, so we found one group. We asked to join it. And then once we got in, like I said, we booked kind of late. They had actually already closed the fish extender groups that they were setting up. And I kind of emailed, because there's an admin to all these Facebook groups. There's usually one person that's an admin, or two or three. So I messaged the admin saying, hey, because the reason we had gotten the sailing discounted was because it had shown up. My husband's a travel agent, so we had booked it on a travel agent discount. I said, this went on the travel agent discount list today, because we pretty much booked it the day it came out. On that list, and you're probably going to get a bunch of people joining today. can you open up another fish extender group? Because there's administrative stuff. People want to make their gifts. Sometimes people buy gifts. Sometimes people make. So they wanted to do that. So I messaged her and she opened it up. So that's a long way of saying you just have to Google the Facebook group. And I really would suggest you join it just because there's other things that go on there. Like our Facebook group had the fish extender. They also had some mixology classes that they did as private for the group. They had some meet and greets. They had arranged some scavenger hunts for the kids. We had a very busy Facebook group. So it's just a way to enhance. If you're a social person and like meeting and doing interactive things, it's really just a way to enhance your cruise and get some extra like fun activities going on.
That's a really good point. So yeah, before your cruise, jump on Facebook and take a look at that. Well, I think we've covered just about everything on the ship. Is there anything else that you can think of that you wanted to talk about, Cam?
You know what? I am going to circle back on the, I alluded to it earlier with my son losing his blankets because I feel like this is a ship thing.
Oh, definitely.
So my boys travel with their security blankets. You know, they each have their favorite blankets that go with them everywhere. And my older son had buried his blankets up in the sheets. And when they came to clean the room, they just grabbed all the sheets off the bed and his blankets got swept away with it. And that happened on like the third day of the cruise.
Oh no.
He was literally like beside himself. And so we let the room steward know and he felt horrible and said, don't worry about it. We know that this happens. I said, do you know though what happens with the laundry? He's like, well, I'll put in some calls. He was never really able to get anywhere. We went to guest services like a day later and said, you know, we haven't really heard anything with the status of these blankets. And we were a little concerned because we're getting in port. We were at St. Thomas. It's like, nothing leaves the ship, right? They're like, yes, none of the laundry ever leaves the ship. They will be found eventually. It's just when will they be found? And so it took them 2 days later. And that's why my son was kind of sulking on the second animators night, was because it had been a couple of days and they still had not returned the blankets. But that animation magic show perked him right up. And then as an extra special bonus, when we got back to the room that night, the blankets were waiting for him. So
I bet it put a huge smile on his face, didn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, those blankets are like his, you know, it's kids get attached to things, and those blankets were very important and had kind of, you know, put a damper on his vacation because of that.
Well, I'm glad he got him back.
Yeah, me too.
My youngest has got a Bolt plush that he got at Disneyland the very first time we went there. He's a big dog fan. And Bolt has been on many walkabouts throughout our little travels around, but he seems to always come back. But yeah, I know exactly how kids get attached to that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
So you guys went to St. Thomas first. Let's talk about that. St. Thomas, and then you guys went on to Puerto Rico, San Juan, and then to Castaway Keys. So let's talk about your port adventures.
Okay, so St. Thomas. So the interesting thing with my family, and I think it's pretty typical, is my boys love being on the beach, but not really the ocean water. We didn't really want to do a beach that day because we knew that we'd have Castaway Key later, and we're just not kind of beachy people. So what we decided to do, and we thought it was a way to save money as well, when we got to St. Thomas, we thought we would just do, it's called the Sky Cab to Paradise Point. It's reasonably priced. It's only like $20 per person and $10 per kid. So like for my family, what is that, like $60 for us to do this? What it is a ride in like a cable car up the side of the mountain at St. Thomas, and then you have an observation deck and you can look out. We had researched it a little bit online. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. It's very convenient. So this is one of the things where even though it was considered a port adventure, you do it whenever you want. They give you vouchers. You can walk from the ship. It's not even a 5-minute walk over to where you can redeem your voucher and then get on this cable car up the side. So very convenient in that fact that you can just do it whenever you want. And we had researched it a lot online, and some people, like I said, loved it, some hated it. We had gotten the impression that once we got to the top of the mountain or the hill or whatever you want to call it, that there were nature walks and there were things up there that we could go and explore and walk around and do. There's not. So we got up to the top, beautiful view. We've got some great pictures from up there, but really the only thing up there is a handful of shops and then like a place to kind of get some food and drinks. We even asked the lady, it's like, we thought there were nature walks up here and trails. Oh no, we're working on those. And I'm like, Ryan's like, I don't think they're working on those. I think she just said that. But so we hung out up there for about 20, 30 minutes and then just went right back down. So we had done that pretty early in the morning too. I think they had opened up at like 9 a.m. I think we were doing all this around 9:30. We were back down off the side of the hill by 10 a.m. The other nice thing about where we went to port at St. Thomas was literally across from where we were getting off the cable car. So still easy walking distance to the ship. It was like a shopping mall kind of area, like a shopping district.
Okay.
And so we thought, we could see it. We'll go over there and we'll hang out. It was so early. Everybody else is on their port of it. Everything was closed.
It's like, you should be walking the nature trails. They're still
exactly. Well, and we had run into this very nice lady. She's like, well, places are starting to open now. Just kind of mill about a little bit more. She's like, and if you wanted to, you could walk over to like Old Town. And she's telling us what we wanted to do if we wanted to keep exploring. And it was getting hot and my boys weren't really having much of the heat. So we were back on the ship eating lunch at Cabanas by 11:30, I think.
So did you guys just hang out by the pool then the rest of the day?
Exactly. And that's the best time to go to the pool.
There you go.
So it actually worked out well that way. We got some non-kid soup time at the pool. So we had a lot of fun there. And like we had a nice lunch. And so the St. Thomas Day was, it was kind of a bust, but not totally. My husband went to the spa. Apparently on port days, you can get a day pass to go do I think it's called the Rainforest Room.
I've heard of it, but I've never been in it.
Yeah, I think it was around $20. Don't hold me to that number, $20-$30. And he went and hung out in there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And he said it was just wonderful being in there. But then one of the nice things too, before he came back to the room, is he also took a shower. So that he's like, I had this nice big shower and I didn't have to be in the little cabin shower.
Yeah.
So he really enjoyed that, and he would definitely do that again.
Yeah, I've never had an opportunity to do that yet, but so probably the same kind of thing where it's not quite as crowded during a port day too, to be able to go up there and do that.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why they only sell the day passes on those days.
Right.
So
on to San Juan you went, and I think you were pretty excited to go here versus going to Tortola, which you were originally scheduled to go to.
Right. Tortola, me and my husband have been to before on a previous cruise, because me and my husband have cruised before. And I think one of the last things we'll do here at the end of this is I'll kind of talk about our other cruises and kind of compare it a little bit. But so we had been to Tortola, so we weren't that stoked about going there. So when they said San Juan, we were literally cheering and up and down. It's like, this will be great.
Something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, too, as you start looking at the adventures that they had planned, there was a nice variety of the nature hikes. They had great nature hikes. And the reason we didn't book a nature hike was because they were like 6 hours long. They were pretty long.
Oh, wow.
And I can do a little bit of activity, but I can't do I was concerned about me being able to keep up too. So, one of those trick knees from an old football injury, one of those things.
Yeah.
So, we didn't do that. We ended up doing something that we knew we could handle, and that was the old and new San Juan City Tour. So pretty much what that is a bus ride around San Juan. They stop at a couple of different places and let you get out and look. There's this area over by their government building where every American president that's come to San Juan, they make a life-size statue of them. So they let us get out there, and you could take your picture by your favorite president. And of course, everybody, because Barack Obama had been down there, so Barack Obama was pretty popular. Going down.
This is just like out in the middle of the street, kind of?
No, this is over in their Parliament area. So It's like like in front of their government building.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of odd, but yeah, no, I mean, it is on a
It's just
street.
like right out there where anybody can go. That's amazing that they do that.
Yeah, so it was nice. So we got to stop there. They also let us stop for a little bit over by a beach area. I mean, obviously they only gave us like a half hour, so you couldn't have went swimming or anything. But if you were just wanting to collect some seashells or do some other stuff, you could do that. Of course, there was a ice cream place there and some other places to get some snacks in case you hadn't had breakfast yet.
Some French macaroons.
No, there was not. There were. We would have been all about that if there was. So that was nice. Then it finished at the fort there, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the name of the fort, but it's one of these things where having a guide to walk you around something and explain what you're seeing makes all the difference in the world. Me and my husband were enthralled by all the information that the guide was telling us. My boys were enthralled because there were iguanas everywhere. We liked our time at the fort. Now, the interesting thing too, that fort is literally 5 minutes from the Disney ship. So they had taken us all the way around the city, different places, and we literally end up like 5 minutes walk away from the ship.
Wow.
So we wrapped up at the fort, and then we had the option. If you wanted to take the bus back to the ship, you could, or you could just walk back yourself and kind of explore on your own. So we chose to explore on our own a little bit. This tour was, I didn't write down the prices. I think it was like $60 a person. I mean, granted, it's a lot of time sitting in a bus because they're taking you around to see everything. But like I said, the guide was very knowledgeable and explained things and entertaining. We really enjoyed it, and I would give it a thumbs up, especially if you're not wanting something that's too physically demanding but still kind of entertaining to see the city.
I think in wrapping it up with the forts, especially with kids your age, would be just perfect too, to be able to do something like that.
Well, and he kept saying, he goes, I know you guys are a Disney cruise, so I'll put this in Disney terms. Well, because of fort, you're protecting people. They did some pretty bad things to some people there.
Yeah.
And so he was pretty interesting in how he phrased things, but still, for the adults, communicated, the things that were going on there. So it was, like I said, me and my husband found it completely interesting and entertaining as well.
Well, good. So then did you guys just walk through Old Town there for a little bit and then back to the ship that day?
Yeah, we did. And the interesting thing we did, because you go all the way to San Juan, Puerto Rico to buy a dream catcher. So
a dream catcher, really?
Yeah, that was the one souvenir my son bought. So they get things in their head of what they want: French macaroons and dream catchers. We just kind of milled about. It was interesting to walk about and see everything. Felt very touristy in that area, probably with all the cruise ships that stop in, but I would definitely go back and mill about. We decided not to eat lunch only because my husband would have loved it, but we were just afraid that my boys, they're not very adventuresome eaters, and we knew that they would eat the food back on the ship, so we decided just to skip lunch out in the port and ate back on the ship again.
Yeah, we kind of did the same thing at Grand Cayman, to be honest. It was just easier to go back on the ship because you knew the kids were going to eat there.
Yeah.
When we were down there. Well, awesome. So now on to, and we'll bring Christy back here for just a second. Christy's favorite place, I think, in the world, or one of them at least, is Castaway Cay. And,
yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of Castaway Cay? How was your day there?
We had an interesting Castaway Cay day.
Okay.
It started off rainy.
Uh-huh.
So we're eating breakfast at Cabanas, and Ryan's like, how do you think this is going to turn? Because rain was coming, and it's like, well, it'll be okay. We're not sugar. We're not going to melt, so we can go out into the rain. By the time we had ate our breakfast, got our gear together, got off the ship, it had stopped raining. It was a fairly sunny, cloudy type day where it wasn't really hot. So was perfect for us to get our stuff. We had decided to they had like a package where you get like a bike rental and floats and snorkel gear as a combo package.
Right.
We had done the math, and for everything we were wanting to do, it was only like $16 more for us to have gotten that versus buy everything individually. So we did that. So we got all of our gear, the snorkel gear and the floats and everything, and got set up. The boys just wanted to kind of hang around the beach and collect seashells and stuff. My one was trying to catch little fish in the bucket, which he was not successful with. Ryan went off and snorkeled and had a good time. So it took Ryan like an hour and a half to snorkel. So by the time he got back, it was actually time for lunch. And we had our lunch, and it was very wonderful. But before I move away from the beach setup, one of the things when you look at pictures of Castaway Cay and you see that sea of umbrellas and that sea of chairs, I'm like, oh my goodness, this beach is going to be so crowded. It's not going to be fun. And I was really kind of concerned about that going in. But in all honesty, I have way crowdeder beaches here on Lake Michigan when we go on the weekends, and there was at Castaway Cay. It was like wonderful. There's plenty of room for everybody, and it was just wonderful that way. We were kind of nervous about, are we going to have an umbrella and a chair, but we were able to get all of that stuff with no worries. The lunch was really good. The boys liked their food, and of course having ice cream right there handy afterwards for dessert was very nice. So our Castaway Cay Day was pretty wonderful. So here's where it gets to the interesting part. So we did the package thing. So we got the snorkel and the floats.
Right.
And it also included a bike rental. One of my things that I was looking forward to was renting the bikes. My boys, one is a rollerblader, the other's a bike rider, and so we were kind of worried about the rollerblader because he doesn't do that well on his bike. We were actually, and he's the older one, the 10-year-old, we were actually able to find a biggish boy bike that had training wheels on it. And he's like, I want that one and I want it now. So he was all excited that he didn't have to look foolish if he was, I guess in his mind, it was better to have training wheels than to not have training wheels. But the younger one is a better bike rider, but we could not actually find him a bike, at least at that point in time, that didn't have the training wheels.
Oh, no. Really?
It was, I don't know. We were having issues.
Huh.
We were having bike drama.
Wow.
So our family gets our bikes. We literally get down the road, I don't even know, a football field's length. And by that time, Joel was having such trouble with his bike. He had ran off the road like 10 times. We gave up.
So you just got to throw in the towel, huh?
Yeah, so the bike rental ended up being a flop for our family. And that's when the sun came out. So we just decided then to call it a day and headed back to the ship. But so it was interesting in that we loved and adored it, but we really didn't spend that much time there, though.
Did Ryan find the Mickey and Minnie under the water when he was snorkeling?
Yes, he did. I'm 99% certain that he did, and I probably have video of that too somewhere. Because we bought for this vacation an action cam.
Oh.
So we recorded a lot of this vacation. So I do have a little action cam video. I'll see if I can find that.
Now you were going to do a vlog. Did you end up eventually doing that?
I am slowly working on it.
Okay.
I have the pre-cruise and then the first 2 days of the cruise up on our YouTube channel, but I'm just slowly getting it out there. So if you want to find it, it's on YouTube at Ryan Slusher, Key to the World Travel, or you can just go to DistractedLifePodcast.com, which is my podcast. I plugged it early, and there'll be links over there to that. So,
and I'll definitely make sure that there's links in the show notes for this as well too, so that you can find it and whatnot. Well, cool. So 2 successful adventures then for your port stays, I guess, as well.
Yep.
So then it goes on. Did you guys? So you went to Castaway Cay, and then you were back to Port Canaveral the next day, or did you have another sea day?
No, the sea day was before Castaway Cay. So, So after Castaway Cay, it's right back to reality.
Yeah, I know. I kind of like having that sea day before you get to port, because Castaway Cay, you're kind of busy. Then you're back on the ship, and you're into dinner, and then wow, it just kind of goes so fast.
Yeah, I agree. It does go. The whole week goes by fast. It's amazing. You think of a 7-night cruise, and you're thinking, "Oh, that's a long time." No, it's not. It flies by.
It does, doesn't it? That's why I think about like a 2-day. They're selling 2-day cruises out of San Diego here, and I was like, man, that would go by so fast. It seems like by the time you just got unpacked, you'd be packing to go back. So,
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but So is there anything else that we've missed that you want to talk about as far as your guys' first experience with the DCL?
Yeah, I'm just going to mention one more thing
Sure.
that, well, actually two, but I'm going to combine them. First is the first run movies. So our sailing was the week that Pirates of the Caribbean, the new movie, came out that weekend. So on Friday was when it was released. They call it, I think, a premiere, premiere. And so they were allowed to play that movie. Typically they say they have to wait till midnight of the Friday of the release date, but somehow they got special permission. And so on Thursday night at like 10:45 p.m., they played the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie in the main theater, and then it was playing. So that would have been Thursday evening. So all day Friday, there was options to watch it as well. So that was really nice. And then just with the other type, like shows and stuff that are available, like in room, I wasn't aware that you could have a ton of in-demand Disney selections, Disney movies, Disney cartoons. My boys, I have boys that are not afraid of their princess side. They watched Princess and the Frog 3 times that week as we were just chilling in the room.
Oh, so you could do it on demand? I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, like on the TV, we were able to pull it up. And like I said, they weren't actually watching. It was something we kind of just had on in the background. But I was like, well, do you guys want me to put something on the TV? And I was like, yeah, I'll put Princess and the Frog on. So, yeah, we had that on. And I didn't know that was an option as well. So that was a kind of a perk of our cruise as well.
Huh. Yeah, my kids love do they like the new Mickey Mouse cartoons by any chance? The little short ones?
Those were on, too. I think they were on at some... I don't know if that was on an in-demand or if it was just a channel in the room, but we watched a fair amount of that, too. They love those.
I love those. I got to admit, I love them, too. They're kind of like the old-school like throwback cartoons from when... I mean, I'm going to date myself when I was a kid, I guess. Like Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, that kind of stuff. More so than the way cartoons have gone today, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree, because they're more the physical humor, and it's not so reality. And, there's some, it's not all rainbows and lollipops. I mean, some of it gets a little edgy, and so I think they really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are cool cartoons. So, well, cool. That's a good tip right there, too. I didn't realize you could do movies on demand in your room.
Yep. And then one more thing, because it was the first sailing after dry dock, I do just want to take 2 seconds here to talk about some of the dry dock stuff.
Oh, definitely.
I mentioned it earlier with the Sweet on You ice cream shop. Wonderful. My boys loved it. The French macaroons there are pretty tasty. We had pretty much every flavor. That's Gelato and Goofy's Candy Company. So I thought that was a great addition. The other thing, too, is that they added the Tiffany and Company store. I was actually very disappointed in it. It's just jewelry. I don't know what I was expecting. I asked them if they had any Disney-specific merchandise in there, and the lady's like, well, we've only been open 4 days, and we don't want to create any Disney Cruise Line-specific merchandise until we know how this relationship builds. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the relationship would probably build a little bit quicker if you would give specific merchandise, because Disney people are freaks and love to spend all their money on that.
Right. Dooney and Burke.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, I mean, make us stuff and we will buy it.
Exactly.
Then the other thing that was new with dry dock is, and this is a minor thing, but I loved it. As you walk into cabanas, they added wash your hands stations.
Oh, I've heard about that. It's kind of like what they had in the kids club, right?
No, it's not the same as the kids club, because those are pretty awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really just a sink where you can wash your hands, but it's a nice big bank of them. So as you're walking in to eat, you can wash your hands really easily and dry it. It's pretty efficient and goes by pretty quick. And when I went to Walt Disney World after the cruise, I'm like, every quick service restaurant needs to have a hand washing station as you walk in. I would just love that. Then the other thing that they added at Dry Dock was some things to the kids club. Unfortunately, we got to see a little bit of the Star Wars stuff. Obviously, we didn't get to play with any of it. And they were supposed to have added some Marvel stuff as well. My kids aren't really into Marvel, so I didn't see that area as well. So there are some new fun things on the fantasy. So I think that's it. I think I've got it all covered now.
Wow. Well, you've done an amazing job. Covering so much stuff that you guys got to do. 7 days of just magical fun. So it comes to an end, unfortunately. How did I know, wah, wah, wah. So you guys went to Cabanas, I see, also on your last day, rather than going to the main dining room for your breakfast.
Yeah, we did for the breakfast. And so what had happened there is for debarkation, we're taking the Disney Cruise Line transfer. So because we had the late dining, that we had the later breakfast, they had told us that we needed to leave the ship at 8:15 to go get on our bus. Well, I think the dining started for breakfast at like 8 a.m. So there was no way that we were going to eat in the main dining room. It just couldn't happen. Our head server was very nice, and he's like, well, we can move you to something else. Just let me know. We'll accommodate you with whatever you want to do. And then he's like, but you can always go to Cabana. So we did. We just went up to Cabanas on the last morning. Of course, you have to take because you need to be out of your room. So we had all of our carry-on stuff with us, but we'll carry off, I guess, stuff, bags with us. But it was still super easy, and I thought it was a nice way to end the cruise. Joel got to have his steak one last time, or did they? No, they did not have steak that last day.
What? Travesty.
I know. It was a simplified breakfast menu, so there was no steak on that last morning. So that was the sad part for Joel. But yeah, it was still a really good selection, and it was nice. Getting off the ship was easy, we took the bus we went to the Grand Floridian afterwards, and then had a wonderful day at Magic Kingdom, and then the vacation was fine. Over. It was over.
But what an amazing cruise. So the question is, did you guys enjoy it enough to book again?
No.
No.
We did have a really great time. And so my boys, I think, are just Wisconsinite little boys, and the heat really did something for them. Uh-huh. So we left the ship thinking, you know what, I think an Alaska cruise might be for us. So maybe our next cruise will be Alaska. So here's the interesting thing. We do have a cruise now booked for December of 2018.
Okay.
It is not Alaska because you don't sail to Alaska in December. We're going to give the Caribbean one more shot. And we're not going to do it with Disney. We're going to try Carnival.
Well, cool. Have you been on Carnival before? I think you have, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we decided to go, and I believe Christy has talked about its sister ship on your podcast before. So Carnival Vista is one of the newest Carnival cruise ships.
Right.
In 2018, they're doing its sister ship, the Horizon. So right now, as of today, we have a Christmas time cruise on the Carnival Horizon booked.
Wow.
So
they're building your cabin right now as we speak.
They are, and they better be doing a good job of it.
Well, I can't wait to hear about that, because I think Christmas would be kind of a cool time to be on a cruise ship and to spend time with family. So good for you guys.
Yeah, so it leaves December 23rd, so literally it is a Christmas sailing. So I think it'll be interesting to see how my boys handle being away from home at Christmas time. But they're getting older. I'm thinking cash should work for them that Christmas. I don't know. Santa delivers cash.
Yeah, my kids would be happy if they got iTunes cards or whatever else.
Yeah. But speaking of sailing Carnival before, I'll take just 1 minute here at the end if it's okay with you.
Oh, definitely.
Because me and my husband have sailed before. This was just our first family. So previously, me and my husband did a Carnival cruise on the Carnival Victory. We're talking 15 years ago. So that was back in, I think, like 2001-ish. We did that. Uh-huh. And then we also did Holland America on the ship, the Amsterdam. So, again, we did these sailings when we were in our mid to late 20s. So Carnival Cruise Line, in comparison it to Disney, I'm not a foodie, so I'm sure the food is way better on Disney. It didn't matter to me. I don't remember not liking the food on Carnival. Granted, we're dusting off 15 years of memory here.
Right.
But I really do think that demographic of where it's kind of more of a young kind of party vibe was definitely there. But we were in our mid-20s, so we were all about it. So we were like the perfect demographic for a Carnival cruise. Mm-hmm. Then when we went on Holland America the next year, again, this is just our personal experience on this one sailing. We actually felt a little out of place because we were mid-20s, and it felt like everybody else on the ship was in their late 50s.
Wow.
The ship was beautiful and the service was wonderful, but if this tells you anything, we felt out of place in the main dining, and we literally ate one night in the main dining on the Oosterdam for Holland America. We just would have ate at the buffet every night because it just was not our thing, and we just didn't feel, I don't know, it felt different. Now, the ports and everything were wonderful. We still had a great vacation and had a good time, but it just was a different type of vibe. The one thing I will say about Holland America, and I did Google it before we started talking, they have a private island as well. It's Half Moon Cay. And I just remember Half Moon Cay being this beacon of loveliness, and the sand was so soft it felt like baby powder, and I just remember thinking that cruise was worth it to get to go to their private island. Now, comparing it to Castaway Cay, Half Moon Cay, we had to tender into that island, whereas you can walk right off onto Castaway Cay. They had food set up at both. I think Ryan liked the snorkeling better at Castaway Cay. But both of them were really lovely experiences. And if you just like to lay out in the softest sand I've ever touched, that was Half Moon Cay, though.
Wow.
So that was a 2-minute. Sorry, I talked too fast.
No. My guess is like all of those islands have just got to be amazing, don't you think? That the cruise lines,
they have to be great.
They've really got to spruce them up for like their own islands that they take you to. So. But yeah, good points on those, and I can't wait to hear what you think about Carnival. We're actually going on Norwegian in 2 months with some friends.
Nice.
But yeah, we're going on Norwegian, and in my mind, I remember the food was. I'm not a foodie, or my wife and I aren't. Like, we like good food, but I'm not going to say that consider myself a foodie. And I remember the food being really good on Norwegian, the one that we went on in the Mediterranean. So I'm kind of really curious to see, the difference now that, and that's been a couple years ago, so it'll be a little bit more fresher in my mind to compare it to Disney's. Food as well, but I think they're all. I mean, if you're not like a huge foodie, I think they're all pretty much about the same. Don't you think? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I guess I'm not because I'm not a foodie. I'm not a good one to ask on the food quality between different ships.
Right. I know. Maybe I should just stop right there because being a non-foodie as well, it all kind of works for me. It all tastes pretty good. So, well, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Kim. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
And it was really fun getting to talk to you. And where can people find you? As you said, Kim's got her own podcast, the Distracted Life Podcast. Let's talk a little bit about that, and then where they can find you on social media.
So my podcast, DistractedLifePodcast.com. You can find it on iTunes, your favorite podcatcher of choice, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. My spin on the Disney podcast is I primarily focus on trip reports. So do everything, Disneyland, Disney Cruise, Alani. We sneak a little Royal Caribbean trip reports in there. It's really a trip report podcast. We do occasionally news and other little things. But so if that sounds like something you might be interested in, I would appreciate it if you would check it out. And if you went on a Disney vacation and want to come on a podcast, you can come on Steve's. I'm just going to tell people to come here on your podcast, or they can come over to my podcast too.
Oh yeah, definitely check out Kim's, because I've learned, I mean, it's amazing the amount of stuff that I've learned listening to some of the people that have gone and their experiences as well. And I mean, that's why we all listen to it, or most of us listen to this, is just kind of to get that little bit of that Disney magic when you're not there, and to kind of help you out the next time you go down there or go on your next cruise, whatever it may be.
It's always fun to vicariously live through other people's vacations.
Oh, it is, definitely. And where can they find you social media-wise, I guess?
I'm a white-hot mess when it comes to social media. On Facebook is the primary one, Distracted Life Podcast. I mostly hang out then on Instagram. It's Kim Slusher, all squished together. Twitter, I'm not on as much, but it's Kim_Slusher. So, like I said, I don't make it easy for you to find me.
Well, thanks again, Kim. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your family's experience on the fantasy. And once again, I want to thank you for all you've done for me to actually get going in the whole podcasting business. of itself. So once again,
well, you're
thanks for
doing an
coming on.
amazing job. So I think it's awesome, the work that you're doing. Keep up the good work.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye, Kim.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show this evening. I really want to thank Kim once again for taking time out of her busy schedule to come on and share her family's experiences on a Disney Fantasy as they cruise through the Eastern Caribbean. And between now and then, if you're interested in sharing your experiences on Disney Cruise Line or some other aspect of Disney travel through cruising or Adventures by Disney, I'd love to have you reach out to us. You can reach us on Facebook at the DCL Podcast, or you can also find me on Twitter at DCL Podcast as well. And you can always get a hold of Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust Travel. So between now and our next episode, if you're heading out on your next adventure, I want to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you continue exploring the world. Thanks again for coming back and listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.